This is Karen with NewClevelandRadio.net. And today has been a really fun day for me because I'm talking to musicians and musicians who are releasing music even during the pandemic. I just think that is terrific. And today we have Dondi Allen with us. And as I like to preface, that you can live in a certain area of the country and maybe never hear of a musician. Um, but you know what? We try to gather them up and introduce you so that you can hear something new, something different, and something exciting. So, welcome to our program, Dundee, and tell us
Well,
a little
thank
bit
you.
about yourself.
Well, let me see. Dondi is from Philadelphia, PA. I've been singing since I was 8 years old. Uh, I would say most artists do. Um, I started out singing with the Philadelphia Musical Academy Boys Choir, and I stayed with them until I was about 14 when my voice started to change and I was no longer a soprano. And from there, finished high school, performing arts high school here in Philadelphia, and decided to go into service. Um, After the service, I came out, and I knew music was what I really wanted to do. So I started doing some local bands, and I've been doing it ever since. The band I'm with now, Jelly Roll, I'm still with them, even though I'm recording and putting out albums. Um, we've been together for quite a few years, and I'm still doing that, and I'm having a blast.
Well, you know what? That's the whole idea is to have a good time with it.
Absolutely.
So, first of all, I want to thank you for your service because
Ah,
not everybody has it in them uh, to service our country. So, again, thank you for that. But let's talk a little bit about Philadelphia and music. I
right.
happen to have lived in Philadelphia for 4 years,
Oh, really?
way before you were born, I'm sure. Um,
Uh, okay.
I actually lived there from 1971 to 1975.
hmm
And people may not know this, but a lot of rock and roll, even though we say Cleveland is the home of rock and roll, Philadelphia had American Bandstand, and that was
Absolutely.
rock and roll.
Yes. Yes.
And I read in your bio that you like staying true to the sounds of music.
Right.
Tell us what that really means.
Well, I grew up in the time of vinyl, so I'm not as young as you may think. And my parents listened to everything from Frank Sinatra to Peaches and Herb. My mother was with a group called The Times before they had that big hit "So in Love," and and then my brother came home. He was in the service as well, and he introduced me to all types of music, including Deep Purple and Procol Harum and Steely Dan and Tower of Power, and so I had a pretty vast music library to go on. But the people that I hung around and grew up with, my main influence was R&B music. You know, bands like the Ohio Players and Parliament Funkadelic, and singers like Jeffrey Osborne and Peebo Bryson, and then came along Luther Vandross, and that was like it for R&B singers, and so that is my major influence is R&B. So
So I also read that you actually recorded something that you followed in the footsteps of somebody who I think is really great because you recorded Alfie.
oh yes,
Now,
I did. Yes, I did.
how could you I mean, I haven't heard it yet, so I have to go out and find it, okay?
Okay, okay.
But, you know, Dionne Warwick, that's her song.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful woman. Wonderful woman. I did that actually. Her son, Damon Elliott, who produced Pink in her first album, which went platinum. He produced that song for me, and of course, I had to get permission from Burt Bacharach to cover it.
Sure.
And we went out to L.A. We were going to be out there for the Grammys, and I just had so much fun recording that song. And meeting her in New York a few months later, actually a year later, at a Grammy soiree where she was being honored. It was just an all around great experience. All
Wow.
around great experience. My mother used to sing me that song.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
So it had a lot of meaning to you as well.
yes, yes.
Okay. So tell us about this new release that was scheduled for tomorrow, but it's already out today.
It's live today. The distributors can play tricks on you sometimes. So so it's on Spotify today at least. I don't know if it's on Apple Music or iTunes or the other platforms yet, but it is live on Spotify.
And what's it called?
It's called Live It Up.
Live It Up.
And I wrote this about 3 months into this pandemic. Pardon me. And it's really all about how we have to live our lives, to the fullest. Life is short, you know, and you really have to take advantage of the life we've been given, and enjoy yourself. And we have to do it as a community because no man is an island,
Right.
So
You know, today has been quite an interesting day. So I'm going to share this with our listeners. I'm going to tell them that um, I want them to go to New Cleveland Radio and see the three um, entertainers that I've had on today,
okay,
including Dondi Allen. Um, I woke up this morning feeling, I won't call it dread, but I just felt something just wasn't right.
right,
Um, and I had a physical therapy appointment, which I went to. But halfway there, I kept thinking, I'm just going to call and say I can't make it because it snowed again here in Cleveland.
oh,
Um, but then I thought, no, 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 I can't do that. I have to go. And I got there. And even when the therapist greeted me, she said, "How are you doing today?" Um, it's not that physically I wasn't doing okay,
right.
but it was mentally. And I said, you know, I'm just not into being here, but I'm doing well. Okay.
Okay,
And she
okay.
said, that makes no sense. But you sort of like put the bow on it right now when you said, we, we just can't stop. We have to keep moving forward.
That's right.
And that's how I have pursued my whole day. And with each interview, and each task I've done, I have felt better and better. And then all of a sudden, you said exactly what I was feeling, and you tied it up in a big red
Oh,
bow.
well,
Um,
good. Attitude is everything.
well, and it is. And this past year, it's been difficult to have
For
a good
everyone, yes.
attitude. Now, you're in Philly now, correct?
Correct, yes.
So, Philly has been in a number of lockdowns
Yes,
during this
pardon me.
past year.
Yes.
Um, Is it slowly starting to are you slowly starting to emerge outside, or what's going on in that city?
Oh, Philly, even though it's been in a lockdown, has been pretty much alive. You can you can still go to restaurants, but it's limited. The live music venues are shut down, of course, but people are out and about. I live um, in an area called Washington Square, and there's a park right across the street. And on nice days, people are out and about, and they're running around the fountain. They have the kids out and the dogs, and so it's been this way for about 6 months. But when it first started, it was a ghost town, of course.
And,
But
for
things are
those of
good.
us who don't live in as large a city as you do, um, it's hard for us to imagine um, that a city like Philadelphia and New York and LA became ghost towns,
Yes,
but they did.
yes,
Um, I lived in Philadelphia a long time ago, um, and it was always a hustle bustle, even back in the 70s when I lived there.
right.
So uh, I can't imagine it's any slower today than it was back then. In fact, you probably have more people and more
Yeah,
things going on.
absolutely.
But you also mentioned that, venues have been closed down. So performers like yourself really haven't had an opportunity to perform in front of a live audience.
Right.
How does that look going forward at this point?
Well, as I said, things are starting to open up. I am, as I said earlier, with an event band called Jelly Roll, and we're moving toward getting back to work. Uh, Not so much in Philadelphia, but in surrounding states like New Jersey and Delaware, and so things are starting to get back to normal. Uh, Lots of people are vaccinated, some fully. I'm one of them. I'm fully vaccinated now,
That's good.
and so it's not over, but we can start to let our guard down. Pardon me, and get back to living some semblance of a normal life.
Right.
Maybe,
Absolutely.
you know,
So during this past year, you obviously took some time, obviously, to do some writing,
a lot.
a lot of writing. Okay. Um, Normally, during a year when you're not in lockdown, would you have written as much as you did this past year or
No, not as much. I always write. I'm constantly in my home studio writing, um, but not as much as this past year. Uh, and this past year was more focused. I learned a great deal about music production and how to do things better. I always worked hard, but I learned how to work smarter. So, and that's a skill. You have
yep.
to slow down. You have to back up a minute, and I had the time to back up and back off, and you know,
And it's interesting that you say that because um, I've always been the type of person that if you give me a project, I have to do it now, right now, and I got to get it done because what if there's something else I have to do? And
right,
so I'm been in perpetual motion. And last year, a week before the lockdown here in Ohio, I had knee surgery. So when we first got locked down, it was not a big deal to me because I knew I had to be recuperating at home anyways.
right,
Um, and then it sort of dawned on me that many of my clients came into my studio to do their podcasts, and that wasn't going to happen anymore. And so
uh-huh.
we had to start making changes. And one of the biggest changes I had to make was to learn how to prioritize
Uh-huh.
and to slow down to make sure that I do it right.
Yes,
Um, and I don't think if it weren't for the pandemic, I don't think I would have changed. But in some ways, I have seen that it helped a lot of us regroup and
yes,
realize that, you know, if we don't make it to tomorrow, then whatever that project is wasn't meant to be done. And
right.
so do what you can today, stay
Sure.
well, and help each other out.
That's right. That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. I wrote an article on the Elephant Journal, and it was entitled "Of Yourself." And giving giving your time and your love and your effort to other people, it only empowers you, you know. And a lot of us have learned through this pandemic that we had to slow down, and it gave us the opportunity to look at things from a different perspective.
Absolutely.
And it's not you and I are not unique. I believe the entire world had to do that. So, you know,
Well, it's one step at a time, and
right,
it's letting letting people know that it's okay. They don't have to respond immediately to each other.
right,
And I'm hoping that when it is safer to be out and about, um, people get back to that time spending it with each other and putting these things down. Um, and
yeah,
I'm just as guilty as anybody else. I'll
right,
go to a meeting and I'm playing with my phone. Um, and I started that way when we started doing these live records because I was so used to just doing audio. Nobody saw me pick up my phone.
right, right,
And it was seeing myself in a playback that I realized, you know what? You have to put it down, turn it off, and when there's time, you can pick it up and turn it back on again.
right, 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 right.
So I want to encourage everybody that we want to get out and listen to this music. It's on Spotify today.
Yes.
It
The
might be on
single
other platforms.
the single drops today. The album Swim in Your Skin that is will be available August 6th.
So we have something good to look forward to this summer.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I'm interested in the title, Swim in Your Skin.
Swim in Your Skin. It's sort of a romantic connotation, being as close to another human being as you possibly can to swim in your skin. But it also, when you think about it, if I'm swimming in your skin, I'm trying to walk in your shoes and feel what you feel and see things the way that you see things. So even though it's romantic on one hand, it's practical and worldly on another. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's about time that we started walking in each other's shoes,
right,
experience what others are feeling. Um, I will tell you that uh, if somebody would have asked me a year ago, am I privileged? I would have said, heck no, I've
right,
struggled.
right.
Um, but now, yeah, I have lived a privileged life.
Yeah,
Um, and I am now aware of that. And my privileges may not be as great as somebody else's,
absolutely.
but
Yes,
it's time to start giving those privileges to others and sharing with each other.
yeah,
And the best way to do it is through music. And I
yeah,
love it.
yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me here.
Absolutely. Keep in touch with us. And when the album releases in August, come on back and let's talk about it some more. Okay.
I would love to do that.
Wonderful.
I would
Have
love
a
to do
great
that.
day.
You too.
God
Thank you
bless.
so
Thank
much.
you.
Take care.